Do you think that there's more media literacy than ever, or is it just as fraught as ever?
No, there's definitely like no media literacy, and it's worse than ever.
Yeah.
um, I mean that, yeah. I feel like I have so much to say about this, like the farm to table thing.
Yeah.
In some ways, like maybe we're also doing that a little bit. We're
Hmm.
trying to say like give the community the mouthpiece, let the community like tell their own stories. We have the tools now to make that possible. Let's train up kind of community reporters. That's part of the mission of the work that we're doing at Central DC and with the consortium in general, the work that they're doing in New Jersey. But media literacy is at an all-time low. Like I
Yeah.
think that the trust that has been eroded in these institutions, part of that is because there's so much noise and so much propaganda and so much kind of biased news available on social media that it has kind of made audiences like unaware of what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
And also, I think a lot of people don't really know what journalism, and this kind of sits with us, I think, in our responsibility. They don't really know how journalism is produced or what those kind of principles were that we were relying on to tell the news. I don't think that the average person realizes how much integrity and work is involved in fact checking, how how editors are so careful and helping their reporters like make sure that every single thing is attributed, even when it's not attributed in the story, who it
Hmm.
came from. You're so careful with your word choice. Like there's so much effort that goes in traditional journalism to make sure that you're just printing the facts. And there is a lot of integrity in that process. And I don't think we ever really kind of did a good job of educating like the general audiences on the level of work that was going
That's
in
hard.
to make right. And then now, like because we live in the era that we live of kind of skewed and slanted news, like it's almost too late. Like people trust nobody, and then they just trust the people that like they whose opinions they agree with.
Yeah.
Someone like Joe Rogan can like really establish rapport with his audience. He's on for a lot of airtime. People listen to his podcast. Like they really kind of feel like they know
You
him and
soak
they
in it.
trust him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're like, I trust this guy. And then whatever he says is the gospel for me. And, I think that I, I can only speak to my own experience as a consumer. Like I try to diversify my news sources. I try to read varying perspectives. And maybe that era is like, maybe that's quaint now. Like I don't know
Yeah.
if anybody does that anymore because social media is so good at kind of,
Bringing you the
targeting us.
confirmation bias.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like kind of putting us in our little pigeonholes. But this is a big problem that will require solving. Like
Hmm.
I think we're at a low point now, but media literacy is becoming part of K through 12 education. It's becoming part of college education. It is a huge thing that we
Wait,
have to
I'm
learn.
curious. So I feel like my vision is always clouded on this because I literally studied like rhetoric and media in college. So I'm always like, I don't. It's hard to look outside myself. But so you just said that it's being taught more in K to 12. What? How so?
Yeah, I mean, my kids are in elementary school and they learn media literacy. It's a part of their
Like
curriculum
in
in
what?
New Jersey.
In what? Like
Like,
yeah. Sorry.
like to so it's like they're learning how to look things up on the
Mhm.
internet and how to know what's real and what's not, and
Wow.
how do you research on the internet, right? Like when you're doing an essay, like you and I, or at least I'll put myself in this bucket, like I would go to the library and I would like look at an encyclopedia. Like there were things that were facts and things that were not. And
Yeah.
now kids are doing all their research online. So they have to learn how to use the internet and how to use it intelligently. And so
Mm.
that's part of the curriculum that I think a lot of schools are now starting to adopt. And part of that is media literacy. It's just sort of like what does it mean when your source is the New York Times versus like a local blog that a person is writing and you don't really know kind
Yeah.
of the level of vetting that's gone into it. And colleges are more so like, traditionally it's been the people who have like comms or journalism degrees that get that kind of training, but now colleges are considering just making media literacy required for all students because it is like it's such an important skill set as a citizen in
Yeah.
our country to be able to like discern the facts. And we can see all around us that the stakes are really high, like right? Like if we don't have informed voters and citizens, then a lot can happen. And
A
so
lot
I
is
think
lost.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why, as I mentioned, all this money is coming into local journalism from philanthropies, is they're seeing how important these institutions were to kind of just community building, but also a shared understanding of facts.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's so amazing that you're getting this grant money.